Penguin Random House Audio presents Consider Yourself Kissed by Jessica Stanley. Read for you by Lydia Leonard.
For Kitten, Boppy and Nonny, with love. 2022. Laundry she could do. Tidying wasn't a problem. She made up her daughter's bed with the summer duvet and the handmade quilt that said Florence. She arranged Catty, with his long legs crossed, his plush black arms open in a hug. Maxie's special toy was a sheep. She laid him on his side in the cot. The colourful magnets went in one basket, the Duplo in another. Upstairs, she made Zora's bed with sheets she'd brought in from the clothesline. They were warm and smelled of the sun. Her tired mind surveyed her luck. A home, the children, Adam. In so many ways, her dream. Something was wrong with Coralie, something that set her apart. She couldn't be in love, but she couldn't be out of it either. If she didn't love, she was half a person. But if she did love, she'd never be whole. Her hands shook as she packed her bag. Mother, writer, worker, sister, friend, citizen, daughter, sort of wife. If she could be one, perhaps she could manage. Trying to be all, she found that she was none. A high summer night, still light outside. The seagulls soared and screamed. She loved him so much, more than anything. But when Adam came home, she'd be gone. Chapter 1. 2013. It was a Sunday morning in March, one of the coldest London winters in modern memory, and, although she was totally alone, Coralie Bauer, aged 29.5, was certainly not unhappy. Which superpower would you prefer, to be invisible or able to fly? Her first and only guardian soulmate's date had asked her that question at Nando's. An agronomist from Walthamstow he identified as a contrarian had worn a full Tour de France-style cycling kit and had asked if Australia had any universities. Never again. The answer was invisibility, and she had that power right now. All it had taken was moving to the other side of the world. She marched down the canal, dodging bikes and strolling couples. As she reached Victoria Park, she realised she hadn't spoken a word all morning. She cleared her throat a few times to loosen up. In her mind, she rehearsed her order. 1 latte, please. She said it out loud. 1 latte. Was that weird? It was weird. She'd spent the whole weekend writing, books and papers spread out across the flat, and she'd forgotten how to exist in public. It was so incredibly cold, whippets on their walks shivered in double jackets. Only the thought of coffee kept her going. The night before, the pub on the corner had held a private event in the function space next to her bedroom. Private events were not subject, apparently, to the opening hours she'd carefully reviewed before signing her 1-year lease. A few weeks after she moved in, she'd emailed the landlord about the noise. The pub was clearly visible to the naked eye, he'd replied. Besides, it had been factored into the rent. The rent was 43% of her take-home pay. She still had 6 months to go. It was far from ideal. It was terrible. But she'd learnt her lesson during the Christmas party season. Better to stay up and keep busy than to lie in bed failing to sleep, questioning every life choice. By midnight, she'd hung her hand-washing out near the radiator to dry. Her work emails were up to date, replies in drafts for Monday. She'd dealt at last with her brother's scrupulously non-judgmental update from what she supposed she should call home. Don't worry, it's fine. Keep your distance. His polite email seemed to imply, you're totally not wanted or needed. Coralie managed other people's emotions for a living. She didn't welcome having the tables turned on her by Daniel. She'd drafted and deleted several hurt responses before accessing a higher plane. You're doing an amazing job with Mum, she'd replied. I bet she's so glad you're there. Please keep me updated on it all. The truth was she could hardly bear to know. Inside the Pavilion Cafe, every seat was taken, and the warm breath of laughing friends and families had fogged up the windows and even the high glass dome. "One latte, please." It had gone well, though she'd been forced to freestyle some small talk when the barista had been nice. She took her coffee outside and stood by the lake to drink it. Soon the wind changed, and the fountain's spray changed direction too. The sun came out for a brief moment. The mist glowed with a streak of rainbow. She slipped her hand in her overcoat pocket for her phone. Images like that on her nascent Instagram had performed an important function by reassuring friends in Australia she was alive. "A rainbow," a man said. "Zora, look, a rainbow." The lake, at least the part next to the cafe, was bordered by a low fence of interlocking cast-iron semicircles. A small girl raced right up and bumped it with her scooter. "A rainbow!" She was so sweet, with bobbed hair, a little fringe, and serious dark eyes and brows. Coralie glanced up to take in the man, enviably warm-looking in his woolen jumper, scarf and coat. To her surprise, he was already studying her, turning on her the full force of his gaze. Did they know each other? But the whole point of Coralie Bower was that, apart from her colleagues at the office, she knew no one in London at all. "Dada, see the baby ducks?" "I can see them," he sounded amused, and from the direction of his voice it seemed he was still looking at Coralie, even though she'd turned away and drifted off, staring down at, although not seeing, her phone. "Can you get me one, a baby duck?" "I could get you a croissant. Or a pan au raisin, would that do?" "I don't want the duckling to eat," the girl said. The man laughed and picked up her scooter. "Why do you want it, then?" "To love it and take care of it." They were walking off, the man carrying the scooter in one hand, the other hand holding the girls. When Coralie was 5 or 6, her neighbour's cat had kittens. The cat received visitors like a queen in a pile of towels in the laundry. Her babies fanned around her, their eyes closed. If Coralie could have got away with it, she would have stolen one. She'd wanted one of those kittens so badly. She knew exactly where the little girl with the fringe was coming from. Now she studied the ducks, very fluffy and newly hatched. Hatched too soon, surely, in this cold. A sudden yearning filled her too, although the ducks must have been swimming near her for 5 minutes without her even noticing. She was back, suddenly, the girl, leaning on the fence by the lake. Coralie glanced through the windows into the cafe and thought perhaps she saw the man, his head thrown back in a laugh. The wind changed again, and a wall of frigid spray advanced on them from the fountain. She raised her hand to shield her face. When she lowered it, the girl was in the water, face down. Fuck! Was it an emergency? It was an emergency, as in a nightmare. Her throat ached with panic, but she couldn't scream for help. Seconds passed in a horrible flash. Why was the girl so still? Her coat puffed around her like a life jacket. Coralie climbed over the fence, steadied herself, and jumped in. The water was up to her waist. She scooped the girl up and laid her over the crook of her arm. She gave the top of her back, right between the shoulder blades, one tremendous thump with her fist. The girl coughed, spluttered, and gave a quick, outraged shout. "Ah!" Coralie looked up towards the cafe. People had begun to spill out, silent, open-mouthed. She waded the few steps to the edge, reached up and tipped the girl over the fence. Now she had no visible reason to be in waist-deep freezing water, and she could feel new people arriving at the scene and staring at her as if she were mad. She realised with horror that her phone was in her pocket, submerged. Oh well. She climbed up to the ledge, balanced herself, and stepped awkwardly onto dry land. The girl's face was white with shock. Coralie crouched and rubbed her back. "Did you want to see the ducks?" The girl nodded. There was a graze under her fringe where she'd bumped her head on the way in. Tears filled her eyes. She began to cry. People were surrounding them. A woman took off her coat and put it around the girl. There was an accusatory element to the crowd's murmured remarks, as if someone, probably Coralie, had been remiss, and, now that the danger had passed, it was time to apportion blame. "I'll just get her dad," Coralie said to no one. but as she struggled towards the cafe in her sodden jeans and boots.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?